Assassin's Creed Revelations is the final game in the Ezio trilogy, and takes the aging Italian assassin to Constantinople, a city so diverse, so layered, and so important that it spans 2 continents. The city gets its name from the Roman Emperor Constantine, who took over the Greek city of Byzantium, beginning what's known as the Byzantine Empire. However, by the time Ezio starts ziplining across town in 1511, the Byzantines are out of power, and Constantinople has been under control of the Ottoman Empire since its conquest by Sultan Mehmed II in 1453. It didn't take long for the Ottomans to leave their mark, adorning the skyline with cascading domes and spiking minarets. So sit back and relax as we take a look at some of the city's most important sites and the people behind them.
Welcome to Constantinia, Ezio, the crossroads of the world. Many generations of men have ruled this city, but they have never subdued her. She always bounces back.
It seems a fine place to call home.
For nearly 1,000 years, the Byzantine Empire was the most powerful economic force in Europe, and Constantinople was at the center of it all. But by the time the Ottomans arrived, Constantinople was in rapid decline, and its population had dropped from more than 500,000 people to less than 100,000 due to various attacks from neighboring nations. Once Mehmed took power, he began to revitalize the city. While he converted Constantinople to a predominantly Muslim city, he invited people from all over Europe, creating one of the first truly cosmopolitan cities in history. The city went from a pagan Greek city-state to a Christian Byzantine capital to a Muslim Ottoman metropolis with monuments from all 3 periods coexisting. What was it about Constantinople that made it so important? Why was it the center of the Byzantine and Ottoman empires for more than 1,500 years? It all comes down to location. Constantinople straddles the Bosphorus Strait, the separation between Europe and Asia, and the passageway between the Black Sea and the Aegean and Mediterranean. When you control trade routes, you control money, and can make a whole lot of it. Revelations takes place during a pivotal time in Constantinople's storied history. The 2 sons of Sultan Bayezid II, Ahmed and Selim, were conspiring against one another to become the next sultan. Bayezid had chosen Ahmed as his successor, but Selim was the one who eventually claimed his father's throne due to his ruthlessness. And by ruthlessness, I mean the fact that he assassinated any family member that could possibly dethrone him, including his 2 brothers, all 7 of their sons, and even 4 of his 5 own sons. His favorite son, Suleiman, was the only survivor. When we first meet Suleiman in Assassin's Creed Revelations, he's a 17-year-old returning from his travels abroad, but he would go on to rule far longer and more successfully than his brutal father. Suleiman would eventually become the longest reigning Ottoman sultan, ruling for 46 years, during which time the empire saw unprecedented militaristic, economic, and political growth. He became widely known as Suleiman the Magnificent. It's just too bad that Ezio wasn't around to see his old friend succeed.
The world is a tapestry of many colors and patterns. A just leader would celebrate this, not seek to unravel it.
He fears the disorder that comes from difference.
That is why we make laws to live by. A qanun that applies to all in equal measure.
Without a doubt, the most iconic landmark in Constantinople was the Hagia Sophia. Originally built as a church by Constantine in 326, the version we see in Revelations has been through significant changes thanks to multiple riots that destroyed 2 previous iterations of the building. The main structure as it stands here was built under Emperor Justinian in 532. When the Ottomans took the city, Mehmed considered Hagia Sophia his grand prize and quickly converted it to a mosque and added a minaret, a tower used to sound the Muslim call to prayer. The 3 others you see here were added later in the 16th century. Head inside the Hagia Sophia and you'll be greeted with a massive open space. The interior transitions from a square-shaped lower area into a circular dome thanks to the use of pendentives, these things here. While the clerestory window around the dome's base make it almost appear to float. The sheer engineering feat combined with the luminous rays of light was enough to convince visitors of a holy presence. Despite being constructed as a Byzantine church, there's arguably no building more influential on Ottoman architecture than the Hagia Sophia. When it came time for Mehmed to build a new mosque, the Fatih Kami, the design borrowed heavily from Hagia Sophia with its lack of distinct facade and its large centralized dome flanked by half domes. You don't have to look too far to find other buildings mirroring its appearance, like the Bayezid Mosque that we see here, or the famous Blue Mosque built in the 17th century. Before Mehmed could construct his new mosque, he needed a new palace. One far from the city center, located at the tip of the peninsula where the ancient Greek city of Byzantium once stood. He would go on to construct Topkapi Palace, a secluded residence with high walls that featured more courtyards than interior spaces, and stylistically appeared more like the gardens found in China than anything happening in Europe at the time. The palace was also a place for everyday civic affairs of the Sultan, which took place in the Diwan, or council hall, in the northwest corner of the palace complex. Mosques, minarets, and palaces may litter the city and dominate the skyline, but arguably the most important location and the true lifeblood of the city was the Grand Bazaar. Begun in 1455, it is often referred to as the world's first shopping mall and was the commercial center of Constantinople. Remember that part about Constantinople controlling trade routes? That means they had access to more exotic goods than just about any other city in the world, so it only makes sense that they need a massive center of commerce to buy and sell their goods. Food, clothes, spices, textiles, art, jewelry, carpets, leather, and so much more were all sold at the Grand Bazaar.
200 akçe for this. My final offer.
When I find him, I will ask about the rugs.
You drive a hard bargain, yabancı. Shall we compromise at 180? 180 akçe. We part as friends.
Assassin's Creed Revelations sends Ezio off in style, thanks to the exotic tools he uses, monuments he visits, and people he meets. If you want to explore Constantinople at your own pace, check out more tidbits thanks to the in-game database. For more on Assassin's Creed, subscribe to this channel, and visit us at news.ubisoft.com.